Hey, gang! Today I'm taking you to Asilah and Larache, two wonderful cities on the Atlantic coast of Morocco. I visited in the winter, so I'll show you what it's like in January. Both destinations probably attract more tourists in the summer, but I'll show you what it's like in the winter, as there is still a lot to do and a lot to see at this time of the year. We got to Asilah by train from Tanger. The trains in Morocco are quite affordable. We paid less than £2 each. And you don't have to book it ahead, you can just turn up at the ticket office at the station. Asilah train station is about 2.5 kilometers away from the old Medina. We decided to walk it, but you could easily jump on a taxi. They are affordable in Morocco. Most taxis are shared. We also spotted a lot of vans parked outside of the Medina from all across Europe. So if you happen to be a van life person, traveling into a van and living in your van, I think it's fairly easy to park outside of the Medina. The old Medina is surrounded by a 15th century wall and rampart dating back to the time of the Portuguese. The old town is also a bit of an art hub with a lot of murals. It looked like those might be graves on the floor. Some wealthy Moroccans from Casablanca might have their weekends getaway over here. There also are a lot of very modern holiday complexes on the coast towards Tanger. We saw them from the train. We stayed only for a night in a modern apartment just outside of the Medina. I have no idea how much it cost in the summer, but in January, at the time of recording, so that's January 2025, we paid about £22 for a night. And that's for a full studio flat with a kitchen and a terrace. In terms of history, in 1471, the Portuguese took over Asilah. Then it became Moroccan again, then Spanish, then Moroccan again. And between 1912 and 1956, it was part of Spanish Morocco. So most people speak Spanish still today. They have a lot of great seafood. And there are some affordable places to eat. Sometimes the drinks are more expensive than the food. The next morning we went to take a look at the market, the Marché Central d'Asilah, where you can find a bit of everything. And of course, like pretty much everywhere in Morocco, you'll find a lot of little furry friends. There are a lot of stray cats all over the country. You'll see a lot of them, of course, around the fish market, waiting for a treat. Asilah also has a little Catholic church. You can go inside. And of course, a mosque. Most of the mosques in Morocco are not open to the public, not as a tourist. After that, we jumped on a shared taxi to go towards Larache. Larache doesn't have a train station, so you have to jump on a taxi. In most towns and cities of Morocco, you've got two types of taxis. The petit taxis and the grand taxis. Petit taxis are usually blue or red in Casablanca and they stay in the city center, when the grand taxis, intercities, are usually white. They are shared taxis, so the price is actually affordable. On arriving in Larache, of course, we went to take a look at the cemetery. In the cemetery, you'll see those little blocks sometimes next to the graves. I think they are for people to sit, so you can sit next to your gone loved one for a while. The cemeteries are often huge compared to the size of the town. But you'd have to remember that most people get buried here. There's hardly any cremation whatsoever. And also, I was told that you keep a grave for 50 years before to have it reused. That's the post office, looking very similar to the French ones. And let's go into the Medina. Larache is a little bit south of Asilah, and it's far less touristy than Asilah might be. It could be due to the fact that they don't have a train station. We came by taxi and we left by coach. The town and the port is based at the mouth of the Locust River. Whoops, even I am too tall for that gateway. As most Medinas, it's like a wonderful maze of tiny little streets. There are a lot of vines and agriculture around the city. And Larache is also a great fishing port. In the 15th century, Portuguese settlers from Asilah and Tangier drove habitants away to build a fortress here. My little furry friends annoying the traders by sitting on their stocks. There are about 130,000 people living in Larache at the moment. The tourism is not hugely developed, yet at least. We rented a full apartment, 2 bedrooms for a night, for less than 23 British pounds. Again, that might be very different in summertime. Of course, you'll see some beautiful mosques and minarets, and you'll spot a mausoleum as well. This is the gate to a mausoleum from a notable person living here in the past. Sidi Abdelhakim, his name was. In terms of notable people, there's also a girl from Larache that some of you might have heard of, Amina El Filali. Her legacy was to change the penal code in Morocco. There used to be a very stupid law in the penal code, Article 475, that stated that a sexual abuser, I say that because I don't want to say the R word, could avoid persecution by marrying his victim. 15 years old Amina was going to be forced to marry a man that had done just that to her. She took rat poison. After her death, the case raised a lot of noise on social media. And finally, the law was changed. Amina El Filali was from here, from Larache. That was in 2012. Talking about notable people, if you happen to be a French literature buff, writer Jean Genet is buried here in Larache. Jean Genet died in Paris, but he wanted to be buried here in the Spanish cemetery. The Medina is looking great because it's all painted in blue. As we strolled around, we tried to imagine it without the blue. And to be honest, it really wouldn't look as nice at all. If you are into history, you could also go and visit the ancient city of Lixus. It's only a few kilometers away, the ruins of an old Phoenician city from the 7th and 8th century. If you go down to the port, you can of course find some amazing seafood. Local people are very welcoming. They'll chat to you on the street. Some might be trying to sell you something, of course, but not always. Now, if you go down to the main piazza on the riverside, you'll see those interesting little cars. They are not only for kids, adults as well are having a blast. I'm not sure how safe they are. People are driving them, including young kids. Oops, that boy fell off, but he was fine. So they're being driven, but the area is not restricted, so you've got pedestrians in the middle. It was fairly busy on that day because it was a bank holiday. 11th of January is the day of the Proclamation of Independence. Above the Corniche Boulevard, you have some lovely cafes to have a little drink with a view. Of course, you might have a few little furry friends waiting for you to share. If you order a traditional Moroccan mint tea, be careful, it's often very sweet if you ask for sugar. Even with a coffee, sometimes when you order an espresso and they put the sugar on the side, sometimes they'll give you 5. Morocco is a producer of sugar. They've got sugar canes and beetroots. But they only produce about 50% of their own consumption. Let's go and take a look at the ruins of the Fort Kebitat, a Portuguese fort from the 16th century. The newer part of town is also lovely to visit. They have some great seafood restaurants on the port. This is the Moroccan salad, and this is the harira soup over here. You'll find it everywhere. Now, if you're looking for an alcoholic drink, it can be a little bit tricky to find. We ended up in a restaurant called Casa Manolo, a Spanish restaurant that was serving beers and alcohol. Morocco is actually a producer of beers. They produce the Casablanca beer. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little visit of Larache and Asilah. Despite the grey weather, we had fun. If you want to see a bit more of Morocco, do check out my other videos. Quick breakfast and next stop, Rabat. Bye!